I want to go through 401k plan. I got 3 questions today by email. And you're always welcome to answer or ask me questions by email anytime about anything you want. Simply go to the website, realinvestmentadvice.com, and send me an email. There's an ask a question button. Comes right to my desk. Always happy to answer your question. But I got 3. It was interesting. I got 3 questions today. Different things on 401k plans. I just thought I'd go through a couple of them here with you. Kind of the do's and don'ts of 401k plans that people make a mistake of. The first thing is borrowing on a 401k plan. And one of the myths that is perpetuated in, the world is that you get to borrow money from yourself in your 401k plan and you generally get to pay a low interest rate. It's the worst thing you can do. And there's 3 reasons why. Actually, there's a lot more than 3, but I'm going to kind of go through the 3 big ones. The biggest reason is when you borrow money from a 401k plan, you're taking money out that you have not paid tax on yet. Now, you're borrowing it, so you don't have to pay tax on it, but follow me through for a moment. But once you borrow that money out, you can be paying interest on money that you've borrowed from yourself. And you're also borrowing money that, was given to you by the company through the company match. Well, when you take that money out, that part of the money stops growing because it's out of the account. But when you pay it back, you pay the money back with after-tax dollars. So now you've paid a loan back that was pre-tax to start with after-tax dollars, but when you eventually then retire and take the money out, you're going to pay tax on those same dollars again. So it's not a good idea. It's not cost-effective. It's also not smart to borrow against your 401k plan because if you get laid off of your job, you're going to have to pay that money back, or you're going to be forced to take it as a distribution and pay taxes and a penalty on it if you're below the age of 59 and a half. So just don't, if you're in a situation where you're even considering having to borrow against your 401k plan to meet a bill or an emergency or whatever it is, there are bigger issues with your budgeting and your saving and your lifestyle plan that you need to start considering right away. This is the equivalent of I went through an entire session on Monday talking about the extremely poor things that are perpetrated by advertisers on unsuspecting individuals. Just borrow money against your house, that equity in your home. Just borrow money out of your house and go invest in Bitcoin or whatever you want to do with it. Pay off credit cards. Well, that's fine. If you want to borrow money against your house and go pay off your credit cards, that's all fine and dandy, provided you tear up all your credit cards and never use them again. But if you use the equity in your home to pay off your credit cards and run your credit cards back up, well, now you've really done yourself a disservice. So when you're in the process of borrowing money, outside of borrowing money for a true investment purpose, right? So I'm going to borrow money because I can borrow money fairly cheap to buy a house with, as long as you put sufficient equity down in the house, right? So I'm going to put 20% down on my house and I'm going to borrow the rest. That's okay. But borrowing money to go, putting food on a credit card or borrowing money against your 401k plan to pay off credit cards, bad idea. Particularly if you're going to pay off money, borrow money against your 401k plan to go pay off credit cards and run your credit cards back up. Same problem as borrowing against your house. Don't do it. And anybody that advises to do that, slap them upside the face and tell them to call me because I'll fix it. The other thing that you need to understand about 401k plans, and I see this a lot, is that people say, one of the other emails I got today is like, well, I just put in the minimum in my 401k plan just to get my match. I understand. You put in just the minimum, you put in your 3% or whatever, you get the company match. That's great. But in the majority of cases, people are not saving nearly enough money to retire. The benefit of a 401k plan is twofold. One, when you put money into a 401k plan, it is pre-tax. So those are dollars that you're not having to pay taxes on today that can grow for you over time, provided you pay attention to your money. You're also getting the match that's adding to the growth of that pool of money over time. that's also growing tax deferred. People go, well, I can invest better. I put the minimum into my 401k plan and I go invest in other stuff over here. Great, that's fine and dandy, but odds are you're going to wind up losing a whole bunch of money, and that's the first thing. But B, every study out there right now shows that the majority of people do not save and invest nearly enough money for retirement. The one thing about a 401k plan, you set it up to contribute the maximum amount to it that you're allowed to by law every year, and you break that out on a monthly basis. Comes out of your paycheck right up front. It's in the 401k plan. Odds are you're not going to touch it because you go, well, that's my 401k plan. And if I take it out of there, I got to pay taxes and a penalty. So odds are you're not going to touch it to go spend it on something else. So you set that up to basically force you to save more money. And again, it's coming out pre-tax. So every dollar you do save, you're not having to pay tax on it today. But the odds are that not doing that and just putting down the minimum and promising me that you're going to wind up saving the extra money is not true. And you're only lying to yourself in most cases. Now, again, I'm saying most cases. Look, I meet with people every day that do a fantastic job of saving. And so don't listen to me because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the other 80% of Americans that don't do this. And you know people in your life that are just like this. So maybe you can take this information and go help them. A son, a daughter, a cousin, whoever, neighbor. Because we all know people like this. But use that 401k plan as a method of forced saving, because at least you're more than likely than not going to at least save some money. The third thing that I got an email on today was about the 401k plan allocation. And this was the interesting one because every week in our newsletter, so if you go to the website, realinvestmentadvice.com, you click on the newsletter link, you're going to get our weekly newsletter that we email out to everybody. So if you put your email address in click the subscription button, put your email address in, we'll email you this newsletter. But we post it on the website every week. If you scroll down to the bottom, click on the newsletter link at the top, scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see a 401k plan manager. And in there, we have a chart going back to 2006 when we started actually tracking our recommendations about how to allocate risk in your portfolio. So that's all there with our technical signals that we follow, et cetera, and some explanation about how our risk management philosophy works. But the question I got by email is like, well, why don't I just be as aggressive as possible in my 401k plan? I need to just be really aggressive because I'm older. I only have a few years to retirement. I need to be really aggressive to make sure I've got enough money to retire on. Well, odds are you're going to wind up with less money than more money down the road by being aggressive. Let me throw something out at you just to consider for a moment. If you want to be an aggressive investor, max out your 401k plan to your maximum contribution amount every year and put that all in very conservative investments. Just follow me along here for a second. Be very conservative, right? Low risk equities, fixed income, cash. Because again, and let's be even more ridiculous about our allocation for a moment. Just again, follow me through for a moment. Let's be more ridiculous about it. Let's just put it all in something like a stable value fund. So every dollar you contribute is going to be just in a stable value fund. That's it. So you're putting in $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, $18,000 a year, depending on where you are. Plus, your company's going to match some amount. So if you look at the match amount that you're going to get every year, you're going to add an additional, 2 or 3 percentage points every year in terms of additional return, so to speak, from the match that you're getting from the company. Okay, so it's going to grow simply from the interest paid by the stable value fund and the contributions that you're getting. So if I just put money in that and just keep sticking money in there every month and treating it more like a bank savings account, I'm getting the match from my company, I'm getting the interest on the stable value fund, right? And I'm putting in more money. So it's growing over time with very little risk. Odds are, history bears this out time after time after time. odds are that a person that does that will come out better on the other side than somebody who aggressively invests in mutual funds in their 401k plan. Because what happens is we wind up getting into a bear market. They wind up losing 40, 50, 60% of their money, and then they've got to try to figure out how to get it all back. The issue is that when you lose money in your 401k plan, that value, you can't go stick a whole bunch of money back in to get that value back up. You've got to simply start to restart all over again, contributing money and growing it back. And so you spend years getting back to even, whereas just being more cautious will allow that money to grow and compound over time because of the contribution amounts that you're putting in. If you want to be aggressive with your investing, at least do that part of it outside of your 401k plan. Do that in a taxable account so that when you lose money, notice I didn't say if you lose money, but when you lose money investing, at least you can write the losses off on your taxes. Protect that 401k plan because that truly is your nest egg. If everything goes wrong, at least you have your 401k plan to fall back on.